Hello, everyone, and welcome to Accessibility Talks. This is the monthly virtual meetup where we chat about digital accessibility, inclusivity, and usability. Each month, we invite a speaker, or in this case, you're going to get a panel today of all the Alley Cats. And we present a topic, and afterward, we invite the community to ask questions and participate in the discussion. I'm really excited to host today. My name is Andrew Olson. I work at Principal Financial as a software engineer, and I live outside of Chicago, Illinois, here in the United States. I use the pronouns he, him, and I've been a part of the Alley Talks team for 2 years, if my math is correct. Didn't stress everybody else out with math on how long they've been an Alley Cat or a part of this wonderful team. Before we get too far into the talk, I want to let you know that unfortunately today we don't have live transcripts. But the great news is, as we share behind the scenes about how we put on these great events, is that sometimes things don't always work out. So while we don't have live captioning for you, our resident expert here, Amy June, is going to help share share some of the captions in Chrome. I see the link is out there about how you can have your own live captions. And if there's any questions, please ask, but we're happy to share how we move through this digital world in an accessible manner. I'm going to share the slides here today. Very important thing that we have here is we've taken time to pull together a code of conduct. So we want to remind everyone that our group seeks to provide a friendly and safe environment, and we require all participants, which includes speakers and hosts, and everyone that's watching on YouTube and commenting on the social networks, to adhere to the Accessibility Talks Code of Conduct. That link should be in the chat here shortly. One of the team members or all of us will put things in there because we're all used to doing this behind the scenes and putting all the links in the places. But it's very important for everybody to feel like they can engage in productive dialogue and share and learn with each other in an atmosphere of mutual respects. That said, this is a panel discussion today. You have a bunch of people here that are excited about putting on virtual events, and we want to share with you how we put these events on. And you can ask questions as we go. We'll do our best to field those, and we'll talk about how we go through the events. But please put a question, maybe preface it with question. It'll make us easier to find it in the live, the YouTube chat. So before we get too much further along, I want to thank you for coming here on Giving Tuesday. That was kind of a theme that we wanted to bring to this about how we put this on, and we can't do that without our Alley Cat Club members. So thank you, Carrie Fisher, Rajab Natsha, myself, Alyssa Panetta, April Sides, and Steve Woodson. So thanks so much for your monthly contributions or any contributions that you've given to make this possible. You can also join the Alley Cats Club. More of that will be coming later from our friend April. And with that, we talked about questions, putting them in the chat. We'll answer them as we go. So with that, I am so excited to be here with my friends and fellow Alley Cats. I'm going to go around here and have each one introduce themselves. I already said I'm Andrew Olson. I'm kind of the person that's going to be heading the conversation today. But with that, I'll pass it on to Carrie Fisher. Would you like to introduce yourself, Carrie?
I would, Andrew. Thank you for kicking us off. My name is Carrie Fisher. I am just recently started working at GitHub. So previous to that, I worked in various foundations and different companies for all kind of around accessibility and front-end development. So it's really nice to be back in the open source space. Words are hard, as well as math today, apparently, and live captions. So we call these tech gremlins, right? And sometimes they rear their heads at inopportune times. Usually that's when they do. But part of doing live events is rolling with it, as Andrew said, and making the best of the situation. And of course, the captions will be fixed at the end if you are using the Chrome version or the auto captioning through YouTube. So apologies for that. Pass it over to Kat.
Thank you, Carrie. My name is Kat Shaw, and my pronouns are she, her. I am now a lead engineer at Lullabot. I used to be a senior front-end developer, and thank you. I specialize in accessibility, and I have been with Ally Talks for 2 years, just over 2 years, and I've been, I think, with Lullabot just over 4 years. And I live in Perry, Kansas, which is maybe just about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour outside of Kansas City. And I love my Chiefs and my Jayhawks. I have to mention that always. And I'm really happy to be here. And I'll hand it over to Amy June.
Thanks, Kat. My name is Amy June, title Camel Case, always one word, Amy June. I currently work at the Linux Foundation as their certification community architect. So I help build exams for emerging technologies. And what's nice about my role is as I'm building these exams, I'm teaching people about digital accessibility as we're creating test questions. So I'm very excited that I can weave accessibility into my new role. I've been with this group since the middle of 2018, and that's where the math isn't going to happen. And my role sort of progressed over the years of what I do and how I can support the team. And currently, I'm a digital nomad, so I don't really have a place right now, and I'm just kind of doing the thing because why not when you work remote? And I'll pass it on over to my friend April.
Hi, everybody. I'm April Sides. My pronouns are she, they. I am based in Asheville, North Carolina, where it's kind of chilly today, but I guess I can't complain because I'm in the South, so I've heard. I am a principal software engineer at Red Hat, but I do Drupal, so I do backend Drupal development, and I've been with Ally Talks for about 2 years. Ta-da.
Thanks so much. Ta-da. That is a very Lullabot thing. Yes. Working with Lullabots. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. So this isn't the whole crew. We have 4 other people that also work behind the scenes. And so they are Mark Casillas, Liz Davis, Donna Bungard, and Heather New. So we're excited to have this great team of people to bring these wonderful events. So with that, today is just kind of structured as a panel discussion. And first, I'm just gonna give an outline of what we're gonna talk about as subjects. And again, we're here to take some questions if you have them. But first, we're gonna talk about the history of Ally Talks, and Carrie Fisher will be going into that. Next, we're gonna talk about speaker selection. How do we get all these great speakers and these great topics? And Kat Shaw is gonna share a little bit of insight into that. For pre-event, so once we do have an amazing event, Amy June and the rest of us are gonna share how we pre-event and promote the event. Then the meat of this is really kind of how we pull off a live event and post-event and all the things that we do to make sure that speakers feel safe and welcome and that it's an accessible event, not only during, but afterwards. And then finally, April, I'm going to be the one that's going to be talking through that along with help from the panel. And then finally, we're going to talk about how you can help contribute on this Giving Tuesday to Ally Talks, because this is something that takes talented people, but also takes some money and some help from the community. And we're really excited that we have some people. And by us sharing how we do this and what we do, hopefully you can see that it's not easy and does take a little bit of extra work. So April's going to go into a little bit of how we're structured and how we just make it easy, and you can have swag, all sorts of great stuff. So we'll save that at the end. But back to the agenda here is History of Ally Talks. So I'll hand it over to Carrie to kind of talk about how and why this began. Thanks, Carrie.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. And I'm going to do just a brief version of this. If you want to learn more, definitely go to our website. There's an About section. You can learn about all of the individuals that are working behind the scenes currently and a couple of past volunteers, a little bit of information about them as well. So just kind of on a high level, Ally Talks was started informally by me in 2016-ish and then became official public 2017. So math, if we're counting the unofficial, it's been about 7 years. Not long after creating this, it kind of started out as an internal conversation about accessibility at my company that I was at then. And we thought, well, this is going so well. Let's make it a little bit more, public and a little bit more professional. Definitely a little bit more formal than the very beginning. If you go back to the archives and watch some of the old videos, you can definitely see how we've developed over the years. I was a host for a long time, and I realized I couldn't do a great job on my own. So I called in some reinforcements with Donna Bungard and Amy June here. And we kind of, again, math, a couple years or a year into that, so maybe it's like 2018. And then now fast forward and we have 9 professionals helping out in the background. So it's great because then when, somebody has something in their lives or they need to take a pause for whatever reason, another person can jump in and we just really help each other out there. As Andy mentioned, we really seek to provide a friendly and safe environment. Part of that is around our mission and our values. So again, we started really informally and we decided that, when we have that formal, more public presence, we wanted to make sure that our mission, our values were explicitly stated. We feel very strongly about focusing on diversity and inclusion. We really make an effort to have our speakers, people with disabilities, BIPOC, LGBTQIA+, women, other marginalized groups in technology be represented either in the topics or in the speaker selection. And we really try to diversify it. Sometimes we have done better than other times, but I'll let Kat talk about some of the ways that we've been implementing that through our speaker selection. But we really want to push those voices. And also part of that diversity inclusion is people who are new to speaking versus people who've done it professionally for years. We run the gamut, right? Panels or individuals. We want to make sure that all kinds of different voices in the communities are heard. So that's kind of us. Again, on a high level, the mission and values statement is found on our website as well. So I won't read that all out to you. But it is really critical to our mission here, not only to provide digital accessibility education for all types of professionals in technology, but also to have that representation. I think we all feel really strongly about that. If there's any questions, let us know in the chat. Otherwise, I'll pass it on back over to Andy, or if Kat's ready to go.
Yeah, I think, Kat, would you like to tell us a little bit more about all the great, exciting speakers and topics and how we pull that off?
Sure, I can definitely do that. So one of the first things we do, obviously, is with recruiting. As Carrie was mentioning, we really focus on recruiting people from marginalized groups. And so when we talk about marginalized groups, I think a lot of people, when they think of diversity, they automatically go to Black and Brown groups, which is definitely top on the list. But we also focus on people that are disabled, women, low-income people. There's a lot of different groups that can fall into the marginalized groups. So that's really very important for us when we're recruiting people. And so for me, one of the things that I find that's helpful is I attend a lot of camps, conferences, webinars, virtual events. And as I watch speakers, I'll gather names of those speakers and contact information and build up a list on our queue and try to contact them to see if they're interested in speaking for us. And that all of the team actually does that, and not just me. And so we also have people that have reached out to us that just want to speak, which is great. We really love that. And if that just shows an eagerness to speak, and we contact them back and we will let them know, yeah, absolutely. We are really interested in not having just experienced speakers, but also new speakers. So we like to mix it up with having both of them. So if we could have like a new speaker or newish speaker and then an experienced speaker, kind of rotate that. And another thing we like to do with recruiting is have maybe like more of a techie talk, and then more of a high level talk, so that not every single talk is so tech focused, and on the flip side, not everything is so high level. So once we do those kinds of things, I reach out first by sending out an email asking if they're interested in speaking. And then when I get a reply, or if I get a reply from that, then we start a conversation. And then the speaker is added to what we call the speaker queue, which is basically a table where we add some of the basic information. And so the next step for us is just to gather the speaker information. So that would be like the topic and description and social media, their preferred pronouns, their headshot. We ask for like a fun fact because that's just a fun thing. And we learn a lot about the speakers that way. It's really, I think it's actually my favorite thing to ask. And then a speaking date's really important because we like to do it Tuesday through Thursday, midday, so that people can attend more easily. And also slides. And we like to ask for the slides as early as possible so that they can be given to the live captioners so that they can kind of look at them and get any words or phrases or anything that might be difficult for them. So when they do the live captioning, they're aware of that. And then that's about it. That's how we do that. So.
And Kat, what would be a fun fact about you? Speaking of fun facts, not to put you on the spot, but
fun facts. I love 80s movies. Well, I think a lot of people do, but I actually forced my daughter to watch them. So the other day, my husband and I were talking about Rad, and we actually got it off of Amazon, and we watched Rad with her the other day. And she didn't think it was as good as we did, but it was so awesome watching it. But I did say, it's amazing how different things are when you're an adult versus when you're a kid. But it was still rad.
That's awesome. That's so cringe, Kat.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. And one other thing we like to really make sure that we do with our speakers is make sure that they follow our code of conduct. And so we have our code of conduct on our website, and we really like to make sure that their talks include inclusive language, and that they're respectful of viewpoints, and that they can accept constructive criticism. And that they are not like an insulting and trolling kind of person. And that doesn't just include during their talk, but just in general also in social media. So we really, if there's a person that's not conducting themselves as a person well, that is something we'll consider when it comes to a speaker. So.
And we have done that. We've rescinded invitations to speak in the past after some information's come to light, and that's not happened a lot, but we do take that seriously. And it doesn't mean that you have to be like a perfect human, but you just have to be a decent human.
Yeah, and it's the psychological safety of the team as well as the attendees. So we want to make sure that we represent our team in the best possible way we can. So I think that speaker vetting is really important.
Absolutely.
So,
I think it's very important.
Andrew, I'm going to take over your hosting duties for 1 second because I feel like Steve's question is really relevant, and I'd love Kat to talk about it. I'm going to go ahead and show it. Sorry. This is what happens when you have multiple hosts all together at one time. I will restrain myself in the future, I promise. But Steve has a really great question. The question is, I'm curious of what kinds of tools you all use to stay organized asynchronously and remotely. For example, Kat mentioned a queue a couple times. What and where is that?
Sure. So our queue is actually in Airtable. So Airtable is a really cool product. It has a free version and a paid version. We use the free version because, I don't like to pay for anything. And it's really cool because you can add it to almost like a table or a grid. And then you can have like a Kanban in different versions and even a form to fill out. And then we can move those into the different columns. So we start it from the queue, move it to marketing, move it to the different columns as the speaker is going through the process. Another obvious thing we use is Google Drive and all of the various Google products like Google Docs and all of that. And that's just because it's widely used. We can collaborate on that, and that's another product I would say we use. Is there anything I'm missing?
I also use the Drupal issue queue for my project management space because we started out as a Drupal sort of centric talk, and we want to provide attributions where we can. I'll talk a little bit more about attributions later, but I'll use the Drupal issue queue to keep track of some of my tasks as well.
Yeah, I think, I was just going to add, I think Slack is also a tool that we use like pretty much every day to communicate. And maybe that's not the most organized one, but that's talks to Steve's question about being remote. So I think that's the way we stay connected. And we also have monthly meetings. We try to get together and talk about the future months. And so we've got these, even though it maybe looks a little disjointed at times and is, we do have plans in place, and we have ideas and plan B and plan C and all the way down to Z, right? And so this idea is that, Kat keeps us organized, and then the rest of us, like Mark mentioned in the comments, we all mess it up and don't do the things that we were supposed to do, but she keeps us in line. That sounds that's right about accurate, right? Would you say, Andrew?
Absolutely. The one thing that does help our team with it being a larger and growing team is the roles that we play. And so how I was excited to join the team was to kind of help define a role and then document what I think that role is and kind of my activities. And then the other part of that is what I really like about documentation is I call it a lead follow, where as I document, as I'm going through something, I document it myself, and then I pass that to another member to follow and take over that role. So we have double coverage. What we're joking about here is like Carrie's sharing this comment, and we have these roles that like are a producer during the event, but there's pre-event, there's all these different, expertise that the team has, and everybody's worn each other hat at some point. So we have that coverage. And the other thing I will say is the reason I really like our team and how it's large is everybody goes through seasons of their life, right? And so if we need to share the load, we have it well documented. We have great coverage of a team and a very supportive team and loving team. And we get together at those monthly touch points to just kind of check in, like, how is everybody doing? How is your season? If I need to take a step back, like sometimes during summer months or just things come up, and we're there for each other. And the other part is we document because we know we want that person to be successful in that role. So that is kind of another really important thing, is not only the tools, but defining those roles. Having a good supportive team that has that double coverage is really, I think, the secret sauce of how we actually get this done monthly and put on these events monthly and learn from each other as well. With that, we can go to the next chapter, which is really talking about the pre-event. So Amy, June, do you want to talk through some of those things, and we'll talk about what we do after we have that speaker selected? What are the next steps to promote that event?
Sure. So Kat does a lot of the background for us and makes it really easy. And once she kind of secures all that stuff, we have a design team. There's a few of us that can do that, but we create posters for media use. We use a poster for, our metadata for our website and for YouTube and stuff like that. And we send that back for approval. So we create a design slide. And once that's approved, we start promoting it in the different spaces. And to do that, it takes a team. Someone creates a YouTube event. Someone else will put it on our actual website. I will put it up in different spaces, and that can include a lot of Drupal spaces. Like we have a Drupal's community events page where it gets featured on DrupalCal and on a map. And even though we don't always talk about Drupal, accessibility is important to Drupal, and a lot of us come from those Drupal roots. So there's a few places in Drupal I post. And then as far as promotion goes, we do it in the spaces that make the most sense and get the wider set of eyes. So right now, Slack is a good tool for us. A lot of us are in a whole lot of different channels. We all have our different networks. So I'll create the copy for everyone to sort of look at. If they want to use it, they can modify it, and then everyone kind of posts in their own Slack networks. And then we don't have a LinkedIn account, but we all post on LinkedIn because all of us have different networks. Carrie might know 400 people, and April might know 300 people in the accessibility world, and I might know 100. And so between us, that's math. But that creates that bigger reach, right? And of course, we use what was formerly known as Twitter. We do still have an account there, but we have an account on Mastodon. And we do try to promote and tag people in an appropriate way just to get that wider reach out there. We do work with the IAAP team, and they actually help when it's a talk that they find fantastic. They help us do some promotion. And what's nice about working with the IAAP team is through the years, we've sort of been able to have our event be considered a continuing education credit. So not only do people who attend the event get a continuing education credit towards the IAAP certifications they have, whether it be all the alphabet soup stuff, but also speakers get credits too. So if you're curious about how the IAAP continuing education credits work, it's on their website. But it's a great way to help people with their career building too. They can say that they were on accessibility talks. They can also use that continuing education to help them keep their certifications. And from there, after we have it on the website and after we have all of our stuff promoted, that's when Andrew typically comes in and secures our CART captioning. And like Kat said, we provide our interpreters with the slide decks ahead of time, but we also try to give them some technology keywords that they might not be accustomed to. That way, as they're typing things out, they're like, what is Kubernetes? And that way they have a little bit of a key to go by. Andrew, do you want to talk a little bit more about how securing CART works?
Absolutely. I just put into the channel who we use for CART. And so again, we find that very important to have the human captioner. Again, unfortunately, apologize that we did not have that for today, whether it was a resourcing or whether it was a miscommunication between Carrie, that's something that
Hey,
this is
wait a
behind the
minute.
scenes.
getting some blame here. No, I think part of that, before jumping into CART, it talked like a short history about how we started with, and we've used all technologies. So when we first, did this long time ago from the informal version, it was just like a Zoom call, right? And then back then they used Otter AI, and you had to pay for it, so no one had those. So it was kind of captionless for a long time. But then we tried different combinations of YouTube streaming and Zoom and Google Meets. We've done it all, right? And we've done the automatic captioning for a long time. Amy June had a connection with Thyssen, which was a great AI version for captioning. And they did a pretty great job. And then that dissolved. And so then we were like, well, what now? This is a perfect moment to up our game when it comes to captions and go from the automatic AI generated captions, which have, I will say, advanced light years from when we first started. The same with YouTube auto captioning. That is fascinating to me, like how much has changed. But yet we still find the human captioner, as Amy June was kind of talking about, acronyms or specific technology stacks, or how do you pronounce this person's name, right? We found, or write out this person's name. Like we found out a lot of human captioners can capture that more clearly. And we've also had some really interesting discussions about, does it need to be verbatim versus are we talking about the context of what is being spoken about? And is that captured, right? So, or emotions that maybe wouldn't be captured by AI right now at all could be conveyed through human captioner. So I just wanted to kind of set that up there. Again, apologies that we don't have it today. Probably my fault. I'm sure I'll take the blame today, but for sure, after this, we're going back to YouTube, and there are options to hand caption, and we'll use the automatic captioning as the kind of a foundation, like a base. And the same is true as if we had a human captioner here. We would take that file, they come in different kinds of versions of the captioning file, and then you can go into YouTube and still edit. So we retain the captions that YouTube automatically captions, what the human captioner does, and then we still go in and we do our manual edits, which Andrew was going to explain on in a little more detail. But I just want to give that historical context that we're always looking at new ways to support different audience members with different disability types. And we don't always get it right, but we are evolving and trying things out, just even like using StreamYard, right? That's another new technology that we incorporated in the last year or so. So these are things that, trial and error, and don't be afraid to make mistakes in that regard. Because again, accessibility, I think, is really about, along the lines of what Meryl Evans always talks about, is about, keep pushing towards, progress, not perfection, essentially. Like we want to keep pushing the envelope, keep trying new things. And it might not be perfect yet, but we won't know until we try it if it's going to work. So, yeah.
I think that's a huge kudos back to you, Carrie. When I joined this team, you were looking for new ideas, and it's always been, what can we do? How can we change? How can we push ourselves to have a better event? Or if there is a new technology, let's not shy away from it. Let's give it a try. Let's go into it, because we all are very passionate about accessibility. We do our best to vet it out as much as we can, but we try and be innovative with this, so it's not the same old. We're not afraid to try something new. Classic example of that is, again, when we have speakers, they come to us if they do need accommodations. Go back to Meryl, who talked in November of 2021. She was talking about a hard of hearing, and she said, hey, would you guys have ASL interpreter? I don't need it for myself, but would you be willing to do that? And we said, absolutely. She's like, how do we do that? We have no idea, but we want to do it. And we were able to, through our community, figure out and secure some ASL interpreters for that specific event. And it was really interesting. I was really excited to be behind the scenes and see how that all comes together, how we bring people up on the stage, how there were 2 ASL interpreters to give a break, because we talk pretty fast in the subject matter. But, these were learnings that we all had. And at the end, I feel like our team continues to learn and grow as we bring people. But that's also a kudos to Kat and to the speakers that advocate for themselves and say, I have these needs, and we're here to figure out how to put on that event and to learn and get better. So another just fine details, we'll just finish up kind of the captioning thing here. So what I always thought was interesting about, how does a CART person come to be a part of Valley Talks? So this is, again, behind the scenes here. We secure it using AI media. We put in a request. We share slides so the CART human captioner can feel up to speed about the speakers' names, how they're spelled, the subject matter, what is Drupal. So, because you never know, it's not going to be the same person that may not have technical abilities, right? So we try and arm them with as much information as possible going into this event. And really, they just joined the stream. So right now we're using StreamYard, that is then live broadcast to YouTube. And they just join our meeting, and they're just a person sitting there silently, and they are just captioning as they go. And as we found with humans, right, some captioners have been better than others, but in the end, I feel like the heart of what the subject is, it's not verbatim, it's not every single word that's said. It's interesting how overall the captioning is a part of this event. And so we've changed from having, after YouTube is done, we'll get that verbatim captioning, right? And so what we do is we'll replace that with the CART captioning, and that's been a process. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in Carrie, when we spoke about this at the Florida Drupal Camp in 2023, that was recorded. So I'll drop that link in there. I thought that was a good discussion that we had, kind of talking about our process a bit more. But I just wanted to share that just kind of to come back on all of the captioning things here, is that we didn't really know how or we were going to pull this off. And as we moved through it and we documented it and shared it, it's really not that hard or bad to make your event that accessible. And overall, feel like it's a really great step forward.
And I want to throw something in, because I came into it kicking and screaming when we went from Zoom, because I utilize captions, and some of the technologies we chose don't utilize captions because we're on a delay. So as a host, I was super scared that people are talking and I don't see those captions for 30 seconds. So if I miss something, I have to wait a while to catch up. And that's when, right about the time Andrew came on the team, and I've worked with Andrew at Drupal events, and I've discovered the live captioning in Chrome. So that's our workaround for if we have folks who need captions who are in StreamYard itself. We don't have the paid version that does the captions. So again, there's no captions for me, but I run my captions through my browser. So that helps it be more accessible for me too. So it's not only the accessibility of our speakers and our guests, but also the accessibility for our organizing team too. And I think they already posted that link of how to do that through Chrome.
One of the things that's very interesting about the captions is, we rotate responsibilities, as you've talked about, with doing the captions after the fact and adding the live captions to the video. And it's a very interesting task to edit the YouTube captions with the live captions and going through step by step, and sometimes having to rewind to make sure you hear something right. And I'll tell you, it really gives you a newfound respect for live captioners, because it's not an easy thing to listen and type and make sure you get everything right when you're doing that. So I want to give kudos to the live captioners of the world, our live captioners, but live captioners of the world, because it's not an easy job. So
I think that's a good point. And one more point, and then I'll pass it back over to Andrew to move on to the next topic. But a lot of this we're trying to document internally, but we also we have a GitHub repo for our website, and it talks also a little bit about our process. And we're in the process of updating the website and making these things that we're talking about live. So I know that I think it was Stephen who was asking about, will we have a handout or something at the end? I would say TBD, but definitely in the new year, we'll make that a little bit more public, and then you can follow along. And again, your process might look different than ours depending on your accessibility needs and your event needs, but kind of will give you a skeleton to build whatever it is that you want to build on. Because I think all of us, again, we've kind of talked about Drupal, but also I'll do a shout out to WordPress and other stacks out there. But we really are, the ethos of open source is really important to all of us, and having that transparency, which really kind of talks about, the financial part that April's going to get into a little bit more, and along those lines of transparency and making sure that we all are on the same page. So I'll kick it to Andrew, to kick it to April, maybe. I don't know. Multiple hosts. That's fun.
Yeah. That's the only thing I wanted to put on here, is that, just to wrap up our live event, is, we have that team, we have that role. And what you see here in front of you is everybody on the call is visually here. Typically we have somebody behind the scenes fielding questions, moving things in, moving things out, doing all of the things. And it's kind of fun to just, our hands are off the steering wheel a bit with this talk. It's kind of fun to see that. Because we do have a great host, and then we have that person that is just there, right with that next question, with that next thing. And that's what makes this work really well from Kat. And then if you do miss it, back to Kat's point about the captioning, it's really great to reread and go through the event and relive the event, even if you weren't there. So that's a great way. If I can't attend a month, I'll definitely pick up the post-event tasks that we have outlined, so that way I can get caught up, because we can't make every single event. Any last points about kind of how we put on this event and hosting and all the things that are behind the scenes, but today you see them in front of you?
I would say that we need to rename that person the Wizard of Oz, because I mean they are behind the scenes, they're behind the curtain, they're doing a bunch of things. You never see
Kansas.
them. And yeah, I mean, I am in Kansas, so I think it's
And
the
we-
perfect title.
I think the other great thing about being on this team too is the selfishness of like, I want to host this. I want to talk to this person.
Yeah.
What you don't see in our Slack channels are like we got this speaker. I want to be the host for this. So we do have the internal fighting of that, because I get really excited about some of
Well,
this.
see, me too. And like I'll say, like, echoing what Kat said, I'm like, I don't know which way people are facing, but like captioners, yeah, shout out, but I also give a shout out to the hosts. Like until you host an event and a live stream, like you have no idea how difficult it can be to like keep that momentum flowing. And it's honestly, it's a skill you learn after doing it multiple times. And there's no other way to learn it, I don't think. And Mark, I wish he was here because he's a host with the most here. But he helped teach us, some of those things. And we look at him as, because he's done it for years before in radio and other venues and medias, I should say. But like, having that cadence and having those conversations. But I think having that real interest, speaking to what Andrew and other people have said, we're like internally, we're like, oh, I want to be the host because we really love accessibility and we love to hear these different topics, right? And hear these different speakers. So yeah, we try to spread it out. And then there's some people on our team that don't like to host, or they're in a season of their life, like we talked about earlier, that they're unable to host. And so we give, plenty of tasks for other people to do during that time. It's not just hosting. There's a ton that goes on. I like that. Wizard of Oz, behind the scene. You're a creative director though, Kat, so I don't know. What was it? Universal creative director of the universe?
Creative. Yeah, I don't know.
Before we get too much, so that's kind of how in these events and what you see when you come here monthly. And the other great thing about it is that I love when somebody says, oh, I couldn't attend it. I'm like, this is amazing, because you just go to that YouTube link and it'll just start playing. The only disadvantage you have is asking questions in real time. That's the only disadvantage to not attending our live events. But I'm really excited to move on to the next piece here.
To tag on to that, if you're watching, sorry, April, to tag on to that, if you do watch the YouTube video later, we have a hashtag A11Y TLKS, and you can ask us a question on Twitter or Mastodon, and we can answer that there. So there is a way to ask us questions after the fact.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm going to add to the stage your slides, April, because I'm excited to talk about the next part is how you can be a part of Alley Talks and contribute. So April, take it away.
All right, so I put together some slides just to try and give some visual to things. And also, while I'm going through this, if you want to go to our website, to the sponsorship page has a lot more details about how to give, the benefits of our different giving levels and other ways to contribute, details about our budget priorities and how we measure our impact through our YouTube statistics. So if you want to use that to kind of go along with what I'm going to talk about, let me get that link in the chat, I'm assuming. Yeah, sweet. All right, so last November, we announced that we were fiscally hosted by Open Collective Foundation, which is a 501c3 and allows us to receive tax-deductible contributions. So we kind of get this nonprofit status without managing a nonprofit. So we invited our viewers and followers to join the Alley Cat Club. For $5, $15, or $25 a month, individuals can receive varying levels of recognition and receive stickers. I'll show a sticker on the slide. I can't see myself anymore, but got some stickers here that we'll send out to Alley Cat Club members. And we also had on our sponsor page that you could donate one-time donations. You could give $25, $100, $250 in a one-time donation as an individual, and also receive different levels of recognition and stickers and swag and stuff. So I wanted to kind of go over what we were able to do in that period of time since our last November, I think it was November 16th to yesterday, of course, because I did not do these numbers today. So we were able to raise $2,790 So big thank you to everyone who contributed this year. We really appreciate your support, and you help us to deliver accessibility talks this year. So we had $2,000, $2,063 in expenses, and we do have fees that come out of donations that just kind of comes with the fiscal hosting and the payment transactions and things like that. So it gave us pretty much about $619.93 as our net income that we can use towards next year. And I think it's kind of interesting to see a little bit of the breakdown of where the money comes from. We do have a Redbubble store, and I don't know if anybody wants to grab that link and put it in the chat, where you can get the accessibility talks or the Alley Cat shirts that Andy and I are wearing. So we do have that, and we have most of our money came from one-time donations. We did have a few significant one-time donations, and then we have a little bit here from the Alley Cat Club. But this right here is the only sort of predictable amount of money that we can expect to help us plan and meet our budget priorities. And then I'll show you here. These are our budget priorities. So these are listed on our website with a little bit more detail of what each of these are. But our live captions are our number one priority because, what's an accessible event without being accessible? So we were able to fund all of our live captions for the past year, so that was really great. I have some asterisks here for operations and marketing. We did get a $200 donation specifically for stickers, and so some of that were our Alley Cat stickers, and some of those were some marketing stickers that I'll show in a minute. So I just kind of wrapped that under operations. Another thing that comes under operations is like domain renewals and things like that. So we weren't able to fund a lot of our other priorities that we wanted to do. So if we're looking at today our balance, because we did have some funds come in before November of last year, our balance is $661.28. And right now, with our Alley Cat Club contributors, we can project that we're bringing in $30 a month. Our projected monthly expenses, if we're just focusing on our live captions, are $150 a month. So with all this math we've been talking about, at least I did this math last night, our live captions will be funded for 5 months from today. So we need you. We need your help to help us do the great things that we've been talking about today, to keep things going, and to do even more things than we are already doing, to meet our mission and values, to represent our values, to meet our mission. So how can you give? The first thing is giving through the Alley Cat Club. And I say this because, even though it's lower amounts of money, it's that predictable income, right? So letting us know that you're going to continue to give each month helps us for planning and stuff. And you get cool stickers. I'll put the sticker. Oh, it disappeared. That's weird. Anyways, here's the sticker. Here's the sticker. And then we also have some of these. You might see them at some events and things. And we'll send one of those in the mail to you. If you've donated and not gotten these stickers, there is a form that you have to fill out. It comes into whenever you donate. I think every time you donate, you get a response, a confirmation of your donation, and then you can let us know that you donated so we can get your address and send you some stickers. You can also do a one-time donation. We have on our website, like I said before, we have a few giving levels. You can also give, I think, any amount that you want to give. And those are very helpful too. As we saw in the graph before, that's a lot where our money's coming from. It's not predictable, but it is definitely what's really paying for these live captions and to help us do great things. And then today we are announcing organization contributions. So if your organization, if you feel like your organization aligns with our mission and values, because we're really focused on that, we want to make sure that there's good alignment there. Each of these levels have different benefits for recognition and visibility of your donation. Again, all those details are on the website, the link that I shared before, and I'll share a link at the end as well. But we're really looking for some support from organizations as well. And then if none of those levels work for you, and you really just want the Alley Cat shirt or mug or stickers or whatever it is that you can get the Alley Cat or the Alley Cat's logo on there, you can go to a Redbubble store. Hopefully somebody has shared the link. And you can buy things. We get a little bit of money from there, but you'll look cool like us. I don't know if that translates. So again, if you go to the sponsorship page, all the information's there. You can always email us at team@alleytalks.com. I believe it's listed on that page as well. And let us know if you have questions or concerns or anything like that. We really need your help, just from the community. This is a community-supported thing. We're all volunteers. We're an all-volunteer team. So we need help in continuing to push the accessibility, making cool things happen. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thanks, April. I want to also just give April a huge kudos because we were not 503c. This was a lot of effort and time, and also to organize all the sponsorship levels. There's been a lot of discussion, a lot of hard work by April, but I feel like now is just a really good time to help support us going into the next year. We have some really great speakers that we would like that are in the queue, and we're going to keep on doing this monthly, but as you see, we're just really transparent about the cost of what it takes, and not only just our time that our team is just donating, there's just the real cost. So, we're really transparent about it. We really hope that you're able to give. And I'm excited to be alongside and continuing to volunteer. But we really would appreciate having a great, strong 2024 and look forward to hearing from y'all. With that, is there any other questions or comments before we kind of go through the final slides here, or any final comments that anybody on the team wants to make about being an Alley Club member? Amy June, you have your hand.
About an Alley Club member? No. I had a final comment. I didn't let you finish.
Go final comment. Amy June, the floor is yours.
Okay. I really do want to stress that for our organization here, that redundancy is key to our success. I know we've said that a bunch, but we talked about the seasons of our lives and just having to step back. But if only one person is doing marketing, when that person can't do it, it's a real challenge for someone to step in. And so we kind of have this buddy system where, April was helping with marketing and then I took over, and then the days I can't do it, she steps in. And so we really have that redundancy built in. And some of the teams even have 3 people that can do that same task. And so I think that is like one of the pillars that makes our group successful is I don't think we've ever not had a month. Maybe we didn't have a month because last minute speaker thing, but it wasn't because of our team, and again, redundancy is key to having a successful project like this that's been going on for as long as it's been going on. Thanks, Andrew.
Great. Well, I'm going to share the final slides. I just want to thank the panel, Carrie, Kat, April, Amy June, and all the other Alley Cats, that are behind the scenes. Yes. Wonderful. You're all, I just personally just want to say you're a joy to work with. You make this really fun. I'm always delighted by the speakers we have. Whenever I'm a host or behind the scenes, it's just a great group of people and I'm always learning. So thank you. And thanks to everybody that's joining today. Really appreciate you and your time and just even watching us and hearing how we put this on. Again, progress over perfection. We are doing our best, and we're really happy to share our resources and how we put on a successful monthly Alley Talks.
And then we're always recruiting for the team. April put a little comment in private chat, but if you're interested in helping, there's all kinds of different roles. Even if you just want to sit in and learn some stuff, you can reach out to us, and we're a pretty good mentoring team.
Absolutely.
Which I think is important, right? We want to keep the fun and accessibility and encourage other people to want to do what we do in the various roles that they have in their organizations, because I think that's, you know, our ultimate goal, right? Digital accessibility and making things more accessible in the world, right? Is that we all have our role to play, and we want to support people and mentor people on those roles as well. Even just yesterday, Amy June had a question, and I was like, ooh, that's a really interesting question. I've never thought of that. And so I got to do a little research, and we had some conversations. So even just being in the channel, I think we've learned a lot from each other too. So yeah, come on over. Or if you want to be a speaker, contact Kat. There's a lot of different ways to get involved beyond just donations too.
I'll also say we're talking virtually here, but I do know that some of us are organizing of in-person events, and we have some good resources and checklists. You know, April does a great job with the Asheville Drupal camp. I volunteer for the Chicago Drupal Mid Camp. And so, you know, this team is a great resource. We have a lot of great resources, and we're built to just look at any event, virtual or in person, and try and just make sure everybody can go, and just lower all the barriers everywhere. So you can just attend an event and get the information you need and leave. Like, that's our goal. And that's what we strive for every single time. With that, you know, we're looking for speakers. We talked about all the great speakers and the process there. So, you know, follow, subscribe. You're here on the YouTube. You might be watching this later. We appreciate you, and we'd appreciate you helping us on this Giving Tuesday to help us out. So with that, thanks everybody. Until next time, there's going to be a great speaker here in December. So we'll be seeing you very soon. Take care and have a great rest of your year. And thank you for your donation and time.